Ladies and gentlemen, we are here with our next guest, Editor-in-Chief of Archaia Comics, Stephen Christy. Woo! Settle down, people. Settle down, ladies.
Cricket.
We're here at Meltdown Comics once again. Stephen, thanks for joining us.
Thank you for that. We're doing the down five.
We could do a high five. We could do a fist bump. Boom.
No.
So we're taping the show a day after Free Comic Book Day.
Yes.
It was a crazy day.
It was an awesome day.
It was a lot of fun. Tell folks what happened yesterday.
Well, this was year 2 of Free Comic Book Day with Meltdown. This year we had our Dark Crystal Mouse Guard Free Comic Book Day, and to celebrate that, we actually had the original Skeksis from the film here at Meltdown, which was insane.
It was awesome.
Yeah, it's the original 1981 puppets, and they just look incredible in person.
They were. I didn't realize how big they were.
They're life size.
Yeah.
I mean, they actually. I mean, they had people in them back in the day, operating them and stuff. It was. I would say it was even more successful than our event last year, which was our Fraggle Rock Mouse Guard event here. And for that, we actually brought in the original Red Fraggle, the puppet, the Muppet herself. So we had a live Muppet here performing, which was pretty cool. So,
that's awesome.
And David Peterson, the creator of Mouse Guard, was also here signing as well. And I think it was his first West Coast appearance since San Diego Comic-Con last year. So we had like a whole crew here, and the grilled cheese truck.
Yes,
which is like icing on the cake.
That was a big hit. That line was pretty long.
The line was huge.
Yeah.
I think there was almost as many in line for the grilled cheese truck as there were for Free Comics, which
That's
either says a
true.
lot about the grilled cheese truck or bad things about our industry. So.
How did Archaia hook up with Henson Company to do the Dark Crystal?
You know, that was all the original deal was all thanks to Joe LaFavi, who was an executive at the Henson Company, who now is off on his own, doing his own thing. But I met Joe about 3 years ago, and I'd always loved Henson. I mean, who doesn't? We all grew up on it. It was something kind of very. I feel like for our generation, it really kind of spoke to our childhood, and there's just so many kind of memories associated with Sesame Street or the Muppets or Fraggle Rock or Dark Crystal or Labyrinth. I mean, all that stuff.
Yeah.
And we were talking. We started having discussions with Henson Company about what we would want to do with them, and it was very weird because Archaia is a creator-owned company. We don't do licensed books. We're unlike almost any other company in that. We only focus on creator-owned titles. So it was very weird for us to kind of be having a discussion with a company about licensing their content to do comics of it.
Right.
But what we went in and pitched them was we went in and we said, listen, we want to make comics with you, but we don't just want to make comics with you for the next 2 or 3 years where we pump out as much product as possible and we flood the marketplace and we throw things against the wall and try to see what sticks. We want to take a very thoughtful, kind of curated approach almost to your content. And we don't want to flood the market. We want to do maybe even 1 or 2 books per property per year. And the reason being is because we want to be able to do what we do at Archaia with every title that we publish, which is focus on quality first and foremost, and build the quality from the ground out and treat the books like very special things that you would want to have on your shelf for 10, 20 years from now.
Right.
And if we do it that way, our pitch to Lisa was, Lisa, if we do it that way, we will be able to have these properties live and breathe in the comic book space in a way that you wouldn't be able to get in any other company. And she bought it. So
you guys collaborated and
yeah, we collaborated and we got the license. And the best part about it is that it's not just a license deal, but it's a partnership. And out of that partnership, we have the ability to go back into the Henson vaults and kind of bring content to life that's been seen in the vaults for a long time that never got seen for one reason or another.
Right.
And we're also developing new properties with them.
Nice.
Which I mean, that's a little bomb I'm dropping right here.
Wow.
Archaia.
Exclusive. Yes. Yes.
Archaia and Henson we're developing new properties together that will be co-branded. So it's a really exciting thing. It's a deal kind of unlike anything else that I've seen in comics before. But we are literally taking a 5 to 10 year plan.
Awesome.
It's a very long-term vision. So.
I can't wait. I can't wait. What does Archaia mean?
It's a very interesting question. Archaia is actually, it's a place in, like an area of land in Archaia founder Mark Smiley's book, Artesian. So Artesia is kind of like this medieval fantasy adventure. I would actually compare it, now that the show is out, there's a lot of comparisons between Artesia and Game of Thrones in a way. It's a really, really cool story about kind of a courtesan in this kingdom in like a Middle Age, Middle Earth type thing, who becomes a captain in an army who then ends up becoming the queen of this kingdom. And Artesia is kind of a place within that land. Then when Mark was looking for a name for his company, when he started self-publishing originally, like 7 years ago when the company started, that was the name that he came up with. So it's kind of like a little wink and a nod to the hardcore Artesia fans out there that have been around with Archaia from day one. So,
wow.
So yeah.
So
it's just a place.
Yeah, that's kind of cool. It's very mythical.
Yeah.
Kind of represents what you guys do.
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah. So, what is your role at Archaia, and how long you been there, and how'd you get the job?
I've been there for 2.5 years. I'm the editor-in-chief of the company, and I actually came there. Archaia kind of it went into a period of turnaround about 2.5 to 3 years ago, where it actually shut down publishing operations for a little bit, and then what happened was that my boss, PJ Bickett, who's the current owner of Archaia, came in and bought the company out from Mark Smiley, who was the founder. And I was his first hire on, and it was really funny because when I was first hired on, it was Mark in New Jersey, PJ in Chicago, and myself here in LA, and we were all working out of our houses and everything. So, and literally what we've just done over the last 2.5 years is we've tried to build the company that the three of us have always wanted to see in the marketplace. We've tried to build something really special and really different, and I think that we're lucky in that PJ and Mark and myself kind of all come from different backgrounds. I mean, Mark has been self-publishing for years, and he's a creator first and foremost. PJ is a consultant for Fortune 500 companies, and like he came from a complete non-comics background, which as someone who is in the comics industry was amazing to see the kind of view that someone has when they come in when they don't have like a comics background, when they actually have a real business background.
Yeah.
And my background was that I had gotten my degree in film and TV production on the East Coast, and while I was on the East Coast, I interned at Marvel Comics and then DC Comics. Ah. And before that, I'd interned at Devil's Due Publishing, the guys who used to publish G.I. Joe and Halloween and Hack Slash. And when I moved out here to LA, Devil's Due actually hired me on to run their Los Angeles office. And I was there for about 1.5 years, and then when PJ bought out Archaia and this Archaia opportunity arose, I came. They brought me over here, and it's just been kind of, zooming ever since, basically.
Yeah.
So it's been a crazy ride. It's really weird. We've tried to do a lot in 2.5 years. So.
Well, you're doing a great job. I mean, with the digital era, is that affecting the company? Is that affecting the industry?
Oh yeah, I mean, I think it's. I mean, just look at you guys. I mean, like the digital kind of space has transformed the conversation about comics and the conversation. I mean, the success that you guys have, the success that all these comic book websites or communities or podcasts or videocasts or anything like that have. It's all contributed, I think, to a broader interest in comics, and I think that because
I feel like ever since people have gotten an iPad and a Kindle, I feel like they're reading more in general than they ever have in their life.
The dirty secret about our industry right now is that there's more people reading comics than ever before. Like
right.
it would have been crazy. Imagine like 10 years ago. Imagine if you had, if you had given a comic book to your wife 10 years ago, she would have laughed at you, or anyone's wife.
Unless it was The Last Unicorn.
There you.
she would approve.
That's a very good.
And ElfQuest. ElfQuest
is good too. ElfQuest. But it used to be such kind of a, for lack of a better word, bastard medium.
Right.
In like the early 2000s and stuff. And what's happened now is I think a lot in part to the success of the movies and everything, but also I think in part to just the continuing increase in quality of books. You have more people reading comics than ever before right now. The problem for the kind of quote-unquote mainstream comics is that the people that are reading comics are not the people that will go into a comic book store every week and pick up the latest issue of Batman or Superman or something like that.
Right.
They're the people that will go into a bookstore every 3 months and they'll pick up the latest Chris Ware. They'll pick up Return of the Dapper Man. they'll pick up Adrian Tomine. You know, it's like there's kind of there's been a growth of people that appreciate comics as a medium, and what's happening is that I think because more and more people are moving away from superhero comics because of general lack of quality and lack of foresight in the superhero marketplace, you're providing spaces for companies like Archaia to come in and start building a broader fan base, because we're making content, and other companies like us, like Fantagraphics, Top Shelf, Drawn and Quarterly, Dark Horse to an extent, it's making content that appeals to non-comics readers. Whenever we try to make a book, we always try to think, can you give this to someone who's never read a comic book before in their entire life? And the way that you do that is by having a story that's self-contained with a beginning, middle, and end, that's not a superhero soap opera, that's not something that you feel like you already need to know the characters so well to get into. It's taking the same approach that authors take to novels and that quality directors take to films. How can I tell this one story in the time I have allotted in the best way possible? And that is where the market is going. That's where people are going, because no one cares about superhero books anymore. What was the last superhero comic book that you read that got you really excited?
I honestly don't remember. Like Watchmen, and that's probably not even a superhero book.
Yeah. There hasn't. I honestly don't think there has been that many that move you. Like, think back to when you were a kid. The reason why, when we were all kids, why we fell in love with superhero books was that there were these books that moved us.
Right.
I think for our generation, a lot of it was like Authority, Planetary. Those were groundbreaking superhero comics at the time. Ultimates. But we're living in an era now where all of that happened 10 years ago.
Right.
It's like, where do we go now? What gets you excited now? And for me personally, I'm just speaking for myself. All-Star Superman, parts of like Batman and Robin. I mean, those are some of the few superhero comics that really get me excited. Where it's like, I can't wait to read the next.
Yeah.
The next
like I
stuff.
love, the Batman and Robin stuff I enjoy.
Yeah.
The Kick-Ass stuff I enjoyed.
Yeah.
But I mean, yeah, you're right. There's very few. I mean, every now and then there's a Batman graphic novel that comes out, but that's none of those are recent.
My friends at Marvel and DC laugh at me and they're just like, you're crazy. It's never going to happen. They're never going to do it. You're nuts. If I ran either one of those companies, what I would do is I would cancel the entire line of single issues, and I would only put out graphic novels, and I would put out 1 or 2 graphic novels per year of the major characters. And what you do is you put your absolute best team on that, and you start talking about that book 2 years before it comes out. You treat it like you're marketing a movie. You actually do an advertising campaign. You actually do a marketing campaign. You spend a lot of money on that one book because you as a publisher can say, this is going to be one of the best Batman stories that you have ever read. This is going to be something that changes the way you think about this character, and that gets you excited,
right,
and really moves you. And you do that.
This is genius.
No, you do that. If you do that, I guarantee it. If you really did that and you really focused, I mean, of course, nothing about the industry today applies to that, because it's like comic book stores wouldn't be in existence then because there's not enough material to do it.
Right.
I mean, there's all these things in front of it. But in my head, like, the best way to possibly do it would be to do it that way, because if you did it that way, if you did 1 or 2 amazing Superman graphic novels a year that were definitive,
right,
and were incredible, you would sell 500,000 copies of that. If you did it right, if you marketed it to the public as, this is the new Superman book, and when I say public, I don't mean the people like us that go to comic book stores, I mean the public,
right,
at large, out there.
And then do exactly what.
Do that for Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Do that for X-Men. Do these things where it treat it like
Christopher
something.
Nolan's treats his films.
Treat it, yeah. I mean, treat it like something special.
Right.
It's, and granted, you would not be serving the audience that still buys books, and you would not be doing that. But if people really wanted to expand the audience, oh, and by the way, those graphic novels, no continuity, just a great story.
Right.
Just a great story, no continuity. If we really wanted people to read and be excited about superhero comics again, I feel like that's one of the only ways that we're going to get there. That's one of the only ways that we're going to expand beyond the ever-decreasing superhero audience that we have right now. And we take that approach at Archaia. We're very lucky in that, we don't we don't cater to a direct market fan base. We cater to a book market fan base. So it's a very different thing when you can tell Mouse Guard fans, every year and a half to 2 years, there's going to be a new Mouse Guard hardcover, and it's going to be incredible. And you're going to hear about it. You're going to get the free comic book day preview. We're going to be promoting it. David's going to be out and going to conventions everywhere. It's going to be something special. It's going to be something that you wait for and that you get excited about. We do that with Dapperman. We're doing that with our Henson stuff. We try to do that with everything that we do, because I was talking to Gaston, the owner of Meltdown, about this. In order to be a successful, smaller comic book company right now, it's about event publishing. It's about event publishing in the same way that film studios now have become about event movies. And when I say event publishing, I don't mean like Flashpoint or
Right.
like Siege or anything like that. What I mean is making the books, the single hardcover graphic novels themselves, an event. Focus your marketing around one product. Make that product something that everybody needs to read. Make it something special. Make it something they haven't seen before. Do something different. Don't do what people are doing, have been doing before. Just innovate and create and always try to take it to the next level. Because as a small company that, we don't have the money of Marvel or DC, we don't have the resources, we don't have the talent, and we don't have the fan base. So that's kind of like one of the only ways that we can really do something different in the way that we present our content. So.
That's awesome. You have a genius plan, which brings me to my next question. With all due respect to my co-host Damon, who is a big Marvel and DC nut, and every time he'll recommend stuff to me, and I'll read it, like Walking Dead and stuff like that. But there was something that grabbed my attention when I picked up The Killer, and I read that, and I felt like I haven't read something like that in a long time, and that's when I was like, oh my God, like, I love what they're doing. And and I just kind of checked out some other stuff, and I'm a fan of Archaia. What kind of comic book reader does that make me? What kind of reader am I to where that like we were saying, the Marvel DC stuff isn't really grabbing my attention, but what is it about Archaia that intrigues me the most?
I think that you're a reader that, if you're an Archaia reader, you're a reader that wants something different. You don't want to see the same thing every time. You don't want to read stories that you've read before. You don't want to see ideas that you've already seen before. You want to see unique approaches to different genres. Be it a hitman genre like The Killer, be it slice of life, indie genre like Amelia Johnson. Mice with Swords with Mouse Guard. Whatever you want. I think if you're an Archaia reader, what we try to promise our readers is a respect for their intelligence, and a respect for their wallets, and a respect for their time. We will never want to put something out that we ourselves don't want to pick up, that we ourselves don't want to buy. And that's how we try to price our books. We debate about that a lot internally, and our PJ, our boss, gets really angry because he's the guy that has to think about money. But luckily enough, I'm the guy that gets to think about money a little bit less and the creative a little bit more, and how the creative comes together and everything. So it's like when you see a book of ours like Dapperman, which is an oversized full color hardcover, would I pay $30 for that if I'd never heard of it before? Probably not. Would I pay $25 for it? Yeah, that looks like a pretty good deal to me,
Right.
So we always try to respect our readers from all angles because we love our readers, and also because at the end of the day we ourselves are readers, and we want to do things. It's all about doing that thing. When we create a book, you want to get that feeling right here, that feeling inside that you're excited about it, and that you want it, and that's interesting. It really turns you on, for lack of a better word. Because if you get that feeling, then you can be pretty sure that someone else is going to get that feeling. And that's you kind of have to go with your gut in that sense. And thankfully, so far our gut has enabled us to kind of pick the right books and pick the right things to do, work with phenomenal creators. So,
Wow.
that's kind of like the way that we approach it.
Yeah. So let's look at some books here. So let's talk about The Killer, because this is what brought me in. This is volume 2. Tell the folks at home, give us a synopsis of The Killer.
The Killer, the synopsis of The Killer is really easy. It's kind of the inner journey and the inner thought cycle of an assassin, of someone who kills people for money. And the most interesting thing for me about the series is not even so much kind of the fact that you kind of get into the head of someone where, imagine like, you and I are talking about making comic books right now.
Right.
And it's very easy. We're just like, hey, yeah, you can go make comic books and everything. Imagine a guy talking about killing people like that. It's just like, yeah, I had to go to work today, and there was this nun I had to knock off in South America. And it was like the wind was a little heavy that day, so I had to kind of judge where the bullet was going and everything. It's talking about like that. But the fascinating thing for me about The Killer is that it's a book that really rewards people that get into it, because you see this hitman start to change, because he gets married and he has a child. And in the latest volume of the series, volume 3, he's kind of very much thinking like, he likes to think that he hasn't changed at all, that he's still this cold-blooded killer, but he has reawakened his own humanity within himself, and he's reawakened his own compassion and love through the love that he has for his child and for his wife and for his mistress, of course, as well. But it's just a really interesting character study. It's a complete character study, and it's something that I don't think we really I haven't really seen before, and it's really all down to the creative team. Mats, who's the writer, and Luc Jacquemont, who's the artist. They're a French team, and we actually imported this comic from France. But they're just they work together so well. It's like Mark Millar and Brian Hitch or something. Warren Ellis and John Cassaday, of Grant Morrison, Frank Quitely. It's like all those great teams. These guys work together really, really well.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So volume 1, 2, and 3 are out.
Volume 1, 2, and 3 are out. 3 is the most recent one that just came out, and volume 4 is actually going to be coming out in 2012, I believe.
Okay.
So
put me on that list.
I will.
Let's talk Syndrome, because this is a cover that a lot of people are just, it's very eye-catching. Like, whoa, baby with brains.
Yeah.
Showing.
Syndrome is interesting. These are both very dark books, by the way. So I'm glad we'll be talking about nice things like Mouse Guard. But Syndrome is kind of we kind of describe the high concept pitch as the Truman Show meets Seven, basically. What it's about is a doctor who believes that he's found the cure for evil itself within the human brain. Like, he's isolated the parts of the brain and the kind of hormones and chemicals and everything within there that generate impulses for evil, basically. And he's actually decided to study a drug that he's invented to figure out, if he can kind of curb the way these people think about, think about evil. So what he does is he creates a fake environment, like imagine a Truman Show style environment, a fake city, and he puts actors into this fake city. And then into the fake city populated by all the actors, he also puts serial killers, just to let them run amok. And,
wow.
And he studies them. And it's kind of, it's very dark and a very weird book, and I think definitely a commentary on the nature of good versus evil, but also kind of very much the nature of the voyeuristic society that we live in right now. And I just love kind of exploring the fake world in the book. The kind of the Truman Show style city.
Right.
It's a very unique world. So and a very disturbing cover.
Yeah, very disturbing.
Yeah.
But I like it.
And this is actually David Marquez's first work. Who this is his debut graphic novel, and then he went on to do the new volume of Days Missing for us. But now he's working for Marvel, and he's done Secret Warriors and a few other fill-ins here and there. But he's working on a very, very big top secret project for them that I don't even know what it is, but it's huge. But David Marquez, the artist, is definitely a name to keep an eye out for.
Okay.
And this is where he started.
Okay,
so.
cool. Well, what do we have next?
Well, next we have Mouse Guard. I just figured I should show this off because this is Legends of the Guard, which is our latest book. Nice little wraparound cover there, but this is the book that Archaia started with. This is what we were founded on. It remains our flagship title to this day, and it's, you know, to put it in the most simplest way possible, it's mice with swords.
Awesome.
It's basically a story about it's a story of mice who live in these different communities across this land, this world that they live in, and the people that protect these mice communities are the Mouse Guard, and what they're entrusted with is they're basically the people that have to stand up to literally every single predator out there that you can imagine, because there's no one smaller than mice, and
Right.
there's no one, you know, quote unquote weaker than mice. So what you have is you have these amazing stories of it's like a constant David and Goliath kind of adventure book, where you have these incredible mice who are working together and trying to protect their kingdoms and just keep the world safe for their kind. And they're confronted everywhere they go by predators, by people that are against them, by people that are out to get them. And it's, you know, it's owls, it's you know, it's crabs, it's snakes, it's almost every creature, weasels. I mean, almost every creature that you can think of.
That's bigger than them.
Yeah, that's bigger than them. And that's a lot of creatures that are bigger
Yeah.
than them. Bats too, which was a very
So
cool
is it fantasy based too? Is
yeah,
there magic involved?
No, there's no magic. I think a good comparison would be, I mean, we always get comparisons to Redwall.
Okay.
And it is kind of it is very similar in that, but it's a very kind of grounded medieval adventure story,
Awesome.
basically. And this is Legends of the Guard. This was a really, really fun book to produce because David Peterson, the creator of Mouse Guard, actually opened the Mouse Guard world up to all of these other phenomenal creators. We had Gene Ha work on this. We had Carl Kerschel. We had Alex Scheichman, Ted Nafa, Jeremy Bastian, Katie Cook, Guy Davis, Terry Moore. Like we had some really, really incredible people working on this, and I was very pleased because this got nominated for the Eisner Award this year for Best
Yes.
Anthology.
Congratulations, by the way. You got like 9 nominations.
We got a lot of nominations, which is really cool.
Was it, was it my number right? 9?
No, your number was right. Yeah, it was.
Yes. 9.
That was good, man. It was a huge honor for us.
Yeah.
Last year was the first full year that we had been back to publishing since the company kind of like restarted. Because the year before that, we'd only been publishing for about 6 months or so.
Yeah.
So this was the first full year we've been back. So to kind of get that recognition on books that I feel really deserved it was phenomenal. I mean, it was huge. So
Awesome.
So
Well,
very
I'm
excited
going to
about
definitely start reading this one.
Have you not read?
Well,
Mouse Guard yet?
I haven't read Mouse Guard, but I picked up, you know, obviously the free comic book.
Yeah.
And I started reading that last
I'll
night.
give you volume 1. I have it in my car right now.
Yes.
There you go. There you go.
Yes. This
So-
free comic book
Free comic
Sunday.
book weekend.
Yes. No kidding.
comic book
All right. Return of the Dapper Men. Now this cover is awesome.
Thank you.
I was just holding this and I was just like, whoa, I want to read this. I don't even have to look inside or read the synopsis. This just looks like an awesome cover. Like,
It's a cool book.
you really pull people in with this one.
Yeah, I was really happy about this because this
It's
was
got a
something-
steampunk thing going.
very steampunk thing, and this was something that we got pitched this book, and I have to be honest that I don't know if any other company would have done it kind of like the idea, because the vision that Jim and Janet, the creators, had was just so amazing and so incredible. I'm going to try to see if I can show you some of the artwork here, but
Wow.
Janet has an art style called decoupage, and what she does with decoupage is that she'll actually take wooden boards, and the first thing that she'll do here, if you can see, like she has kind of a underlined layer of text. I think these are just pages from books that she kind of pasted on here. But then she will actually draw and cut out all of the other elements and paste them on here together to form the final piece of artwork. So what you get when you see the original art is you get a kind of almost a very 3D looking thing, because there's so many layers built on top. You can see here, this Dapperman is cut out from the layer underneath him, as are these Dappermen here. So it's just a really unique art style, and that I think, along with the incredible story, was the thing that really kind of set this whole book apart for a lot of people. There's one really amazing page I want to show you back here.
I mean, this is what you're talking about, where
Yeah,
companies should
page, I
spend
love
so.
that
Oh my
page.
God, that's
Yeah.
amazing.
So.
How long did it take to put this book into production?
It took Janet. The whole book took about a year. Jim was writing the script, and then Janet took about I would say nine months or so to do the artwork on it. And the other amazing thing I should say too, we were so incredibly lucky. We got a pinup gallery in the back here. So we have Katie Cook, we have Adrienne Alfona, who did Runaways.
Wow,
David
this is
Mack piece
amazing.
here is incredible.
It's like mind-blowing art.
We got Mike Perkins, who does The Stand for Marvel. Archaia founder Mark Smiley did this piece right here, which is pretty incredible. And then one of my favorites, because it's so creepy, Scotty Young, who does all the Oz books.
That's really cool.
Did an amazing thing here. So we were really lucky, and not only did we get an amazing creative team to actually do the book, but we got all of these incredible guest artists.
You guys could make like prints of those and just sell
Very
prints.
good idea, actually.
I'm serious.
We
Like you
should,
could have
we
an art
should.
show here at Meltdown Gallery.
Yeah,
Just strictly on Dapperman.
Well, the nice thing about Dapperman is that it's actually a trilogy. So this first book came out. I should say, by the way, because it's so rare to hear about this. This book has almost sold 15,000 copies.
Wow.
Of a $25 hardcover by a creative team that had never done an original graphic novel before. And I honestly think the only reason why that happened was quality. You know, you can just tell when you read this how much work Jim and Janet put into the book itself.
Right.
And it really speaks for itself.
I think it's books like these to where you're like, you know what? Screw digital copies. Because, I mean, when you buy this, I mean, you're getting so much more.
Well, we do digital. I mean, our Archaia books are all up on digital, but I think that in order to kind of keep print alive, print's never going to go away.
Right.
It's never going to completely go away. But in order to differentiate, are you going to pay $4 for a cheap kind of floppy comic or pay $2 for a digital copy? Probably going to pay $2 for a digital copy.
Right.
But are you going to pay, 10 or 15 bucks for a digital copy of a book like this, or are you maybe going to actually want to go out and get like the whole experience?
Because it's almost like a coffee table book.
It is,
know?
and it was designed. We have like a little bookmark
Yeah.
here. It was a lot of Archaia books. We designed them as coffee table books, as keepsakes, as mementos, as something that you would want to read yourself, and then maybe read to your kids one day.
So, Return of the Dapperman, you said there's 2 more coming out?
2 more. The sequel is Time of the Dapperman, which
Okay.
is coming out end of this year, hopefully. Fingers crossed.
Awesome.
And then the third and final book in the trilogy is called World of the Dapperman.
Okay.
So it's the Dapper trilogy.
Nice.
As
All
they
right.
say.
Well,
So,
I'm definitely going to check that out as well.
yeah.
And what do you have lastly?
Last
for
one.
us?
This was the book that we kicked off our graphic novel line this year with, which is an elegy for Amelia Johnson. This has kind of been under the radar, so I want to talk about it a little bit. But this is kind of we wanted to do almost the Archaia version of blankets, if you will. This is a lot simpler than blankets actually. But the whole point of doing this book was to do a project that was easily accessible to people that had never read comics before. And I knew we'd gotten it right when I actually gave this to my mom, who has never understood a single comic that I've ever published.
Really?
And she was like, "Stephen, I love this. It's amazing. I actually got it."
Wow.
So my mom doesn't sound like that, by the way.
So we should probably have them put them up on the front counter for Mother's Day.
They should actually.
Yeah.
They should, but it's kind of a downer story. It's a story about 3 best friends, one of whom is dying of cancer, and she's actually bedridden, and she asks her other 2 friends to kind of go around the country to meet with the people that she loves, that meant something to her in her life, and record kind of last remembrances from them for her, since she can't get out of bed now. But her real purpose for kind of sending them on this journey is that they're 2 of her best friends, Amelia. They're 2 of Amelia's best friends, but they have a lot of growing up to do themselves. So she kind of forces them to figure some things out about themselves in a way that really make it for an interesting journey, basically. So And I love this format too.
Yeah.
Digest size.
It's
$14.95.
And you said that's the new size, right? That's
I
where-
was saying
where
that
people are
yesterday.
going, yeah.
I mean there's something very nice about the way this holds in your hands, kind of. And
Yeah.
it's just a good size. It's something you can throw in a bag. It's something you can carry around. I mean, Dapperman is an art book. I mean,
Right.
look at,
Yeah.
Comparatively, it's.
You don't want to like bring that to work, and
No, but this is something that I think it's very mobile.
Right.
For lack of a better, to use a digital term for something that's actually not digital, but it's a very mobile kind of product. So.
Awesome.
So.
Well, I definitely have some reading to do, for sure.
I hope you won't be disappointed.
I don't
wouldn't
think
recommend
I
them if they
will.
weren't good,
I don't
so.
think I will. Stephen, thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thank you
I'm
for
a
having me, dude.
big
I
fan
appreciate
of
it.
your company, and they're all. I have a wish list of just Archaia stuff that.
Well, we'll send you a care package. You have
See?
to give us the list. We'll do it up.
That's
So.
what I'm talking about.
I'm a big fan of your show too. I'm really glad that I finally got to be on here because you guys have some great interviews and good commentary and
Thank you.
stuff. So.
I think you're a perfect fit for the show. So.
Thanks, man. I
So
appreciate it.
follow his tweets at Stephen Christy and check out archaia.com to buy books. Can they buy books
They
on the
can
site?
buy books on the site.
Awesome.
Simple and easy. And support your local comic book store.
There you go.
Go buy from them.
Support Meltdown Comics.
Yeah, Meltdown Comics
Yes.
is kind of one of the best stores in the
This
country.
is our headquarters.
Yeah.
So thank you, Meltdown, and we'll see you guys next time. For all things rad, check out radnerd.com.